Welcome to Inside the Taubman Approach podcast. I'm your host, Benjamin Harding. This new podcast is an inside look at the power of the Taubman Approach, an approach to working with playing-related problems such as discomfort, tension, pain, and injuries. Through firsthand experiences and discussions with some of the premier teachers of this approach, we'll be sharing how pianists at various stages of learning the piano have benefited and grown through applying the Taubman Approach. Sponsored by the Golandsky Institute. The Golandsky Institute is on a mission to provide cutting-edge instruction to pianists based on the groundbreaking work of Dorothy Taubman. If you're interested in learning more about the Taubman Approach, be sure to check out the show notes of this episode and follow links to sign up for our newsletter, to stay up to date with all that the Institute offers, including their premier subscription service that allows you to take lessons on the Taubman Approach from anywhere. Let's get into today's episode.
Today's episode is so inspiring. We welcome Hugo Bermúdez to the podcast where he shares his story of incredible recovery from a massive injury sustained in playing the piano. He tried everything to get better, but it was only after the expert care of Edna Golandsky that he was able to achieve full and complete healing. This journey of healing prompted Hugo to pursue the Taubman Approach in a deep way, becoming the first and only certified teacher of the Taubman Approach in Latin America. This episode relays the ups and downs of Hugo's journey. Don't miss the diagnosis given to Hugo from an emergency room doctor. I was absolutely shocked. I'm not going to spoil it for you. Let's get into today's episode.
Hugo Bermudez, welcome to Inside the Taubman Approach.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very glad to be here.
Where are you located right now as we're speaking?
I'm located in Mexico.
In Mexico. In fact, you are the first and only certified Taubman teacher in Mexico and in Latin America. Wow, I can't wait to explore that with you in a little bit. But tell us a little bit about your journey as a pianist, as a musician, from an early age.
Well, I started playing the piano when I was 6 years old. Something very casual, was nothing very, very formal. I stopped at some point. I stopped when I was maybe 13 years old. I switched to playing electric guitar for a couple of years. And then when my father threatened to sell the piano because I wasn't using it. And then I decided, I don't want the piano gone. So I just, went back and I really enjoyed it. I started having lessons with a new teacher and I became very, very passionate about music. I always liked it, but it was, very casual. And I think I was about maybe 15 years old when I decided that I wanted to do this professionally.
Wow, that is a fantastic story. Many of us who are listening have had similar experiences where, yes, the piano kind of goes by a little bit and we pick up the electric guitar because we want to impress our friends or whatever and be a part of what's happening, and then come back to it with passion. That's fantastic, Hugo. So you decide at an early age, though, that you want to become a professional pianist. So after high school, what transpired for you?
So I got into music school here in my city. It's Monterrey, Mexico. I got into the music university here. I did my whole, bachelor's degree right there. Later, I did a master's degree, but it was in musical investigation. But yeah, so during my bachelor years, I spent it here. Maybe after I will talk a little bit about my injuries, because there was a small gap during my bachelor's degree where I had to stop for a while.
Wow. So you were passionate to the point that you applied to a music school in your home city of Monterey. You get in, you're practicing lots, you're involved in music, things are happening. And then what happened? What is this injury that you speak of?
Well, actually, this injury came from a little bit way before than the bachelor's degree. Okay. When I had to stop, that was like the breaking point. But I think I was 15 years old when I decided I wanted to do this professionally. And that was around the same time that my first injury appeared. The first thing that happened was that I got lateral epicondylitis, tendinitis, like in pain. I would get pain right here on my elbow.
Yeah.
And that was like the diagnosed injury, but I had a lot of pain in many different places. Like I had my right elbow, that tendinitis. I had pain. I remember one kind of pain that went from my thumb all over to like this area. In my left arm, I had pain. Like, do you know when you hit your funny bone in your elbow?
Yeah, sure.
It was like that, but like a very mild version of that. But that lasted like all the time. That was there all the time. And it, worse when I played the piano. So that lasted maybe like 1.5 years. I went to physical therapy. I went to a traumatologist, and I would get the usual, like, you have to rest, you have to take a break, taking anti-inflammatory pills, you have to go to physical therapy, and all of those things. I even tried, I think, acupuncture at some point, but it kept coming back. So I would maybe take a break, and things were like better. The pain went away. But then I would go to the piano, and of course I was doing the same things that got me injured in the first place. So it was very quickly injured again. And
wow. And to the point that you had to take a break during your undergraduate years. How long was that break?
I took 6 months, but that was not the injury that demanded the break, because that was my first injury. That got resolved actually because I found the Taubman Approach researching online.
Oh, okay.
And I came across the 10 DVDs, so I got them. I really studied them, and whatever this is not the kind of thing I believe that you can really learn completely by just looking at the videos. But whatever I applied correctly was enough to get rid of that pain. So the tendinitis didn't come back after that. But what remained was some sort of pain in my neck and my shoulders. That was, that had been there already, but that was the remaining thing. So I had no pain in my hands, no pain in my forearms or anything like that, just by fixing some things that I saw through the 10 DVDs. But then the thing with the shoulder and the neck kept becoming worse and worse. And especially I got into music school, and then of course I had to practice more. Pieces became more difficult. I was preparing for some competitions. So it was, way more demanding than before. And it came to a point where I was basically, my day-to-day life was, I would go to classes at my music school. Then I would rush back home so I could lay down in bed because it was so much pain. I had to take muscle relaxers, like pills. very, very often, like more often than what I'm sure it's healthy for a person. I tried everything. I really, really tried everything. I tried Feldenkrais, I tried physical therapy, I tried acupuncture, homeopathy, aromatherapy, yoga, Tai Chi. What else did I do? Well, doctors, of course, like medical treatment. I did everything that people said, like it helps for muscle tension and for pain and so on. I did all those things, but it was the same story. Like going to the piano would really, really make my neck and my shoulders hurt. And yeah, it was very bad. So I had to lay down in bed just to feel kind of okay. And it was a 24/7 thing. It was not just at the piano anymore. It kind of creeped out into my daily life. So it was day and night. Even sleeping was not so great during that time.
Wow. So how did that affect you psychologically? I mean, that must have been really devastating. Consistent pain that you felt maybe was caused by playing an instrument that you loved. How were you doing psychologically at that time?
It was truly devastating. It felt devastating to me because I felt like, not only I couldn't practice, or I could barely practice by spending my whole non-practice time laying down in bed. So I couldn't really do anything in my life. Like nothing was comfortable, not even sleeping was comfortable. So yeah, it really felt bad. And to give you an idea of how serious it was, one time I went to a doctor in the emergency room, and they took X-rays, and they thought that the muscle contracture, it was so bad that they thought it was because of a car accident.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And this was, wow, all the results of playing the piano.
Yeah.
Something that you absolutely love. Okay, so you found the 10 DVDs. How did you come across the 10 DVDs in the first place?
I think I just went online and started researching. I have pain when I play the piano or something like that. And I saw something about the Taubman Approach and that it helps pianists.
And so you went after them. You got the 10 DVDs. You started looking at it. It solved some of the problems that you were experiencing, namely the tendonitis that you were having in your elbow and other things. But this persistent back pain to the point where you go to an emergency room and they think you've been in a car accident. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's absolutely amazing. Okay. So this is probably at a low point. What did you do? Did you reach out to the Golandsky Institute? What happens next? I'm like wondering what happens next.
Right. So during this time, a little bit before I got to that point, I couldn't play anymore. I came across a dissertation on the Taubman Approach by Therese Milanovic, Australian teacher.
That's
very
fantastic.
Great teacher.
She's been on the podcast. She's amazing.
Yeah, she's amazing. She was my first teacher, actually. So I reached out to her because I really felt identified to what her story was like, because she was also very injured for a long time. And on her dissertation, she writes about that. So I found that very, very interesting. And I reached out to her and I took, I think, like a set of maybe 6 lessons over 3 weeks or something like that. But it was not really to do the very basic work. It was online, of course, because I'm in Mexico and she's in Australia. So I did like 6 lessons. And even though we didn't do like the basic work, it was mostly to solve problems that I had in my pieces that I had to play for the university. I really saw the potential right there. Like I really experienced some very, very wow things things that really wowed me that I hadn't experienced before. And this was like online and my first like formal exposure to the Taubman approach. So then I went to the summer symposium that year, the summer symposium that was at Princeton University that year. And then I had my in-person lessons with Therese Blanovic. And then there I met Edna Golandsky. I had a masterclass with her. And then I stayed 3 extra days or 4 days in New York and took one lesson every day with her. And I got some answers, some very, very good answers about what could be causing my whole problem with the neck, with the shoulders. And it was very revealing. So after that, I came back to Mexico and I kept studying with Therese online for the following 6 months. And everybody, both Therese and Edna, suggested that what would be best for me is maybe go to New York to study with Edna, because apparently I was a kind of a not so easy case to unlock at first. So I went to New York. I spent 6 months there, and that completely got rid of my pain. Like maybe I think like 2 months in, I was out of pain, and 6 months after, I was back to being able to play and continue my degree.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you went from car accident pain to being able to continue to do what you love. And
yeah.
How inspiring is that? And how amazing is Therese and Edna to bring you to that point of healing and restoration? Yeah. Wow. That is so inspiring. And so you're in Mexico. You're the first certified teacher of the Taubman Approach from the Golandsky Institute in Latin America. What kind of prompted you to become a teacher of this approach? Like, why did you want to pursue certification and to be a leader in Latin America for this kind of work?
I think it was the help that I received. Like, I received so much help from both Therese and Edna that I wanted to do what they do. That's what I wanted to do. And I wanted to do that for people in Mexico and Latin America, because there's no one here. And it's not as easily accessible to go. Not everybody can travel to the US. Economies are also very different. So it's expensive, going to the US for someone in Mexico or Latin America. It's a complicated financial situation. So I really wanted to be the person that people could go to when they had problems like I did. I wanted to save people from going through what I went through, if possible, and wanted to help people go out of that kind of problem.
And that's fantastic. And you're doing it.
Yeah.
And you're teaching. So what does a typical day look like for you in Monterrey?
Well, I teach all over the world online, actually. So I have some students here in my city, in Monterrey, that I see in person. I have many students in other states in Mexico that I see online. I see people in Spain. I see people in all over Latin America, even in Europe, China, India. I don't know how they find me, but I get a lot of people from very different places. I don't know. It's really great. I get very complicated injuries sometimes that I have to help people with, but it's a very, very rewarding experience.
Our teacher match system on the Golandsky Institute's website, golandskyinstitute.org. That website provides an opportunity for people all over the world to
be connected to a teacher, maybe in their local area or online. So this is fantastic. And of course, you're listed there as a certified teacher in this amazing work. And you are leading the way in Latin America and literally all over the world. It's fantastic. So you're teaching a lot, and you're playing still?
I play, but I don't perform publicly. I'm like 100% invested in teaching. Like that's what I love to do the most.
That's fantastic. And you're still seeing Edna on a regular basis with different students and issues that come about in this work. And so how have you grown, let's say, over the last 6 months in your teaching? What kinds of insights are you really excited about in your work?
It's hard to choose because it really feels like the progress is so fast as a teacher, especially when you have someone like Edna as a mentor. It's really, I don't know, it's really enlightening every time I take a student to her and I watch her teach my student. I suddenly realize like maybe there's a tiny detail that I wasn't able to see, and she will solve it like right away. And then I see that exact same detail in many other students. So that's, those kind of things are really what makes me a better teacher every single time I have like a mentorship session.
Yes, and the community at the Golandsky Institute is just so beautiful and so collaborative. And it's really just in a fascinating learning environment.
It is
for people all over the world. And dear listener, as you're listening to this podcast, if you're interested in being a part of this community, go to GolandskyInstitute.org and be a part of what's happening in this exciting work. What kinds of projects are you really excited about in bringing the Taubman approach to Latin America? What kinds of projects are you working on in that effort?
Well, I did a couple of years ago. I started putting subtitles in all the Golandsky Institute and Edna's YouTube channel, Spanish subtitles, so people that don't speak English can also have access to that. I also recently started making my own content in Spanish so that it's a little bit more diffusion with that. And next week, I'm very excited about that. Next week, I'm going to be talking about the Taubman Approach for the Royal Healthy Conservatory Network of Mexico. It's a project where they have all kind of specialists from different areas, from mental health, physical health, talking about these kind of topics for people all over Mexico to listen to. So I'm really excited about that.
Wow, I'm excited for you. This is so exciting. So we're going to include all of these links in the show notes in this podcast episode because we gotta get the word out that you're doing amazing things on behalf of this amazing work in Latin America. Congratulations, Hugo. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
And thank you for your efforts in all of this. It's really exciting. Well, thank you. Thank you, Hugo, for just sharing your story and about what's happening with the Taubman Approach in Latin America. And thank you so much for coming on Inside the Taubman Approach.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.